for Rhode Island Operation Military Kids. As such, it's her job to bring educational, social, and recreational opportunities to kids impacted by the military service of their loved ones. Runs the Operations Military Kids program and shares the national initiative, the U.S. Army Child, Youth, and Schools Services, and is funded by the Army National Guard and Army Reserve. And she delivers in collaboration with the land-grant university's cooperative extension programs, 4-H youth development programs. On the local level, these programs bring resources of the University of Rhode Island's College of Environment and Life Sciences 4-H program to military kids and their families in the state of Rhode Island. Pam's specialty is helping community partners and resources to come together to provide support to military families and to learn how to best serve those who serve our nation.
Pamela Martin
is a native of Narragansett, Rhode Island, a 1988 graduate of Providence College in Providence, Rhode Island, received an ROTC commission in the U.S. Army Adjutant General Corps and served as an active duty officer. She also holds a master's degree in education from the University of Rhode Island. After leaving active duty service, she continued to be active in military family programming until her husband retired from the service himself in 2000.
Pamela
is happily married to Command Sergeant Major retired Dayton L. Martin, and together they have 3 kids that she's going to share with us about today and about her own lived experience. Thank you very much, and I'd like to welcome
Pamela Martin. She got a tape.
That biography was so much harder to write even than my master's thesis. I got to be better at it because I was there for the whole thing, but it was a lot more exciting in real life than the way it sounded. Well, as you know, my name is
Pamela Martin.
Okay, that's the last one. I am the program coordinator for Operation Military Kids in the teeny little state of Rhode Island. Not part of Long Island, we're not part of Connecticut. We are a real state. And so I would like to thank you very much for the welcoming spirit and the warm, fuzzy welcome extended to me and my colleagues from Family Service of Rhode Island. I want to give them a special shout out for including me in this process. Susan Ursuline, Jean Sherman, Sarah Kelly Palmer, and Cherie Cruz. Yay. Okay. I wanted to say thank you for taking the tiger by the tail and working so very hard to try to break the code of the military family and extend the services of your practice to military families in our state. And to all of you, because you're here, you're clearly interested in doing the same. Let me preface my remarks by saying I am not a clinician. Yesterday I sat through the TCBY, DKNY, ASTB, Y2K. I don't remember what it was, but it was really interesting. I could tell that everyone there had such a willing spirit to learn about this very distinct culture. And while the acronyms were fine, it occurred to me that I was just as unfamiliar with the culture and language and idiomatic phrases of your practice and culture as a civilian is when they try to sashay forth and offer services to military families. So that was a shocker, because I'm used to kind of knowing what's going on or faking it relatively well. And I just sat there and I didn't know what was happening. So I know I don't have to teach you about clinical practice. Clearly, you guys have that knocked. You have that mastered. And I would feel comfortable, I would feel comfortable in any of my family members receiving treatment, and I've got a few I would like to forward. But, so you're masters at that. I don't need to teach you about clinicians and specialties, and I don't need to teach you about clinical practice. I am, however, a veteran, and I am the long-suffering spouse of a combat soldier who is now retired, a whole different animal now too. I was a teacher, so I understand Dr. Mary Keller's side of the coin. And also, before I forget, if you want to learn more about the military culture, you need to go onto militarychild.org and book yourself into a training in your state from the Military Child Education Coalition. Okay? Big show. Big show. And they are the ones who can start you on the right path. And many of the publications and documents and things that they refer to can be accessed on their site as well. So I want to make sure people knew about that. But anyways, so I am a teacher, mother, veteran, service provider to military kids and their families, and I was a little wigged out at the prospect of speaking to you. I mean, more than I'm usually wigged out. But not being a social worker, therapist, or counselor, I wondered what I could have to offer this audience. But wiser heads prevailed, and they advised me that what matters is that my experience in all of those fields, as a soldier, military spouse, now retiree spouse, and educator, is what has led me to the perfect job, using all those things to work for positive impact in the lives of military families in my state. So what could be better? I ask you. So some of you may not know what Operation Military Kids is, and let me assure you, I will not be welcomed back on campus unless my dean and the college gets their pound of flesh and a little plug. So I work for the University of Rhode Island's College of the Environment and Life Sciences, Cooperative Extension 4-H program. Every land-grant university in the state, your typical state university, has to have two things under their land grant. They have to have an ROTC detachment, that's mandated, and they have to have a cooperative extension to extend the reach and the resources of the state university to the people of their community. The youth program of every state's cooperative extension out of the land-grant universities, the 4-H Club. Any 4-Hers? Shout out, Clover Buds. Any Clovers out there? Okay, it's a lot more than cows at the county fair. Okay? When our nation first went to war in the aftermath of 9/11, no one immediately realized how much of the mission was going to be carried out by service members who are from the Guard and Reserve, not the active component. While the active has indeed, of course, been the lead in this, this is our first conflict where Guard and Reserve are up there on an equal deployment pace. So right now there are hundreds of Guard and Reserve units deployed to combat areas across the globe in addition to the service members from the active component. And let me pause and stop here and say that when I say service member, I mean the soldier, the airman, the Coast Guardsman, the Marine, or the sailor. Okay, that's the person first language and the gender neutral appellation for someone who is serving. Okay, so service member. So the service member is the person who's in the military. So rule number one is always to call people until you know their rank, their branch, and their title. Call them the service member, you can't go wrong. So anyways, it became quickly evident that they had no resources in place to quickly get support to military kids in their own hometowns. In the towns where they live when their service member deploys. Now that's important because if you're living on an active duty installation, let's say you're from Fort Hood, where the big army lives, you are living on, in, and with people who are marinated in the military culture. And the entire town knows about the life of the military families around them. At the very least, you could take a survey of the Walmart cashiers in any military town, and they could tell you when the deployments have happened. Because they can tell by how busy their store is, by how full the parking lot is or isn't. You could ask a pizza delivery man in Fort Stewart, Georgia, are there any units out? And that pizza delivery man could tell you, yes, because I don't have anybody calling on the 15th and the 30th of the month to order pizza now that I'm on the military payday. In fact, at Fort Benning, you can order 3 days ahead when you don't have your pay, and they'll post-date it, and then you can get your pizza 3 days later. So anyways, so these kids who live away from the installations are just like in our previous speaker's presentation, they can very well be the only one on their soccer team, in their scout den, in their classroom, who has a parent undergoing deployment. So for those of you working in civilian communities and in hometowns across the country, it means that there are military kids in our classrooms, on our Little League teams, in our neighborhoods. They come to your door for a trick-or-treat, they play soccer, they go to your churches, And they are in your patient populations already. You just might not have met them yet. So deployments progressed, and the question arose, how to quickly get resources to these kids, military kids all over the country in their own hometowns. What organization already was in place that was big enough to take on this mission? And the answer was 4-H. Every land-grant university having a 4-H program was able to extend their resources through the county agent system and the club system to even the most remote parts of our nation. We use the educational and life skills component of the 4-H program to bring support to military kids in their own hometown. And that's what I do all day, every day. That's my job. So I bring educational, recreational, social support services to military kids in their own civilian communities, with particular focus on kids who live away from the military installation. I use the outreach of the state 4-H team to create connections and bring agencies together who have something to give to the military family in my state. An example of that would be when I met the folks from Family Service of Rhode Island. I was reading the morning paper with my Diet Coke and my Nutri-Grain bars, and I saw that they had a big grant from SAMHSA to work with military families, expand their trauma practice into the military family arena. So I picked up the phone and I called them cold. And the intake worker was on the phone, and he had that, I'm going to talk to you very slowly and make sure that I'm directing you to the right agency. I could tell I was so excited, I think he thought I was a client. I was all excited. And so finally, Susan Erskine called me back, and that's how the partnership is born. That's how networks are formed, and that's how collaboration begins. So, bada boom, bada bing, a fantastic collaboration was launched. The OMK program is also established at other land-grant universities. So you can go to www.operationmilitarykids.org, click on the map, and they'll tell you where your Operation Military Kids program coordinator is. So another key element of my job as OMK program coordinator is to make the community aware of military families, to bang the drum. And I won't bother with the statistics because we've heard them a couple times today, but we know that the kids are out there. So I find myself helping civilian agencies who want to help military families, and you would think it would be easy. Recognize a need, write the grant, get the money, execute the grant, report out, boom, population served. You would think it would be just that easy, but it's not. There are challenges to reaching out to the military culture. So direct from the home office in South Kingston, Rhode Island, I would like to share with you what I call the top 10 list of things to know when working with a military family. Item 10, location. Military families live all over the place. Sometimes the military family moves home from wherever the service member deployed. This means that the family may not be located close to the source of information support that would be provided by the service member's unit. Guard and Reserve service members may train in one state and live in another. And contrary to popular belief, the unit only knows where the service member is at all times, and even then, not always. They don't track where the family is. It's not like we have all our military families in a pen out back with practitioners to